Hello, my name is Kevin Tudor, and I'm one of the three hosts of Almost Major, a film podcast dissecting many major indie studios and the films they release. Every week, myself, Charlie Nash, and Bryden Doyle discuss overlooked, forgotten, or bona fide classic indie films via studio-specific miniseries. We've previously covered numerous films from Artisan Entertainment, Lionsgate Films, and New Line Cinema. Titles including The Blair Witch Project, American Psycho, Dogville, But I'm a Cheerleader, Saw, Requiem for a Dream, and Ringmaster, you know, the Jerry Springer film. Anyways, we have a fun time every week and we hope you will join us. Subscribe to Almost Major wherever you get your podcasts. Now proudly a part of the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.
Hello and welcome to Tumbleweeds and TV Cowboys. My name is Hunter. In this podcast, I'll be joined by a different guest each week to discuss a classic Western movie or TV show. I've been a fan of classic Westerns for as long as I can remember, and in recent years, they've become very nostalgic for me. I love the aesthetic, the tropes, and I love seeing different filmmakers' takes on them. At their best, they're incredibly entertaining, rewatchable, and some of my all-time favorite movies are Westerns. We'll mostly focus on Western movies made in Hollywood, but we'll also be covering spaghetti Westerns, and one thing I'm very excited to get into are Western TV shows. I've got some amazing guests coming on the show, film professors, historians, and podcasters. And Tumbleweeds and TV Cowboys is part of the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network, and many guests on the show will be from other shows on the network. Thanks for listening.
We're in Way Media.
Leads. We can kill it.
I ain't got time.
There's something out there waiting for us. And it ain't no land. Get to the chopper! What the hell are you?
Welcome back to Yautja Fest. This is my badass Father Malone voice. So for the rest of the evening, you're going to think, oh man, Father Malone, he's a real badass. Welcome back to that hurts.
That's going to get old real quick.
Got real old in the throat real quick. Welcome back to Yautja Fest, where we are discussing the Predator films in order chronologically speaking. And as always, with me to discuss it is Mr. HP, host of Noise Junkies and Night Mr. Walters. How are you, HP?
I'm fantastic. I'm so pumped to get into this. After the debacle that was Alien vs. Predator Requiem, I was ready for a palate cleanser. And this was a perfect palate cleanser, Father Malone.
And what are we talking about? Predators! Here's the trailer.
What's the last thing you remembered?
All of a sudden there was a light, and then I was falling.
Who are you?
I was supposed to be executed 2 days ago.
And I was in combat. So was I.
Black Ops. Who would do this to us?
We were chosen.
Chosen for what?
We're all brought here for the same purpose. We're being hunted.
What?
This planet is a game preserve. We're the game. How do we kill them?
However you can.
Predators, released on July 9th, 2010. Directed by Nimrod Antal, written by Alex Litvak and Michael Finch, based on characters by Jim and John Thomas, starring Adrien Brody, I just want to say Christopher Grace, Topher Grace, Alice Braga, Walton Goggins, Oleg Taktarov. Okay, I'm going to do it again now. Oleg Taktarov, Lawrence Fishburne, Danny Trejo. My God, it goes on and on. Mahershala Ali, Louis Ozawa. I'm naming everybody in the fucking cast. You know what? Here are the Predators: Carrie Jones, Brian Steele, and Derek Mears. That's pretty much everybody, isn't it? Yeah.
It's a sprawling cast, but a little look ahead. It didn't, like, we've had sprawling casts in the past couple of movies we reviewed, Father Malone, but this one didn't feel sprawling because all the characters were delineated really well. You didn't spend too much time on any one character. It's a lot of characters to keep track of, but somehow it was easier than the past two movies put together.
You think the characters in this particular plot made more sense?
100%. So the plot for this movie is basically, seven disparate characters end up on a mysterious planet, let's say. It's not Earth. Spoiler alert. They don't know how they got there. They just literally dropped from the sky in parachutes. They're all from all different walks of life.
No, they're not. They're from all different military backgrounds.
Fair point. They're all, the thing that links them, it seems, is they're all
murderers.
Killers. They're murderers. Adrien Brody's character is a mercenary.
Some might say they're all predators.
That's true. That's the double meaning of the title. So they're all dropped onto this planet, literally dropped onto this planet, and they have to figure out why they're there. And through the course of the movie, they obviously figure out that they're there because they're being hunted by our favorite Yautjas. In this case, 3 of them are out to kill them. This is essentially a game preserve, as Adrien Brody's character says at one point. It's a game preserve, and they're the game. So the movie becomes they're very indebted. They make no bones about the fact that they're indebted to the first Predator movie. I think after AVP and AVP Requiem, they realized that they needed to reboot and readjust where the series was going. So they took that as their inspiration.
Okay. That is the plot for this movie. Now, legendarily, this was produced by Robert Rodriguez, and the lore was, and what we had heard about for a decade or two before this film, or a decade and a half anyway, was that at one point Robert Rodriguez had been hired to make a direct sequel to Predator and Predator 2, and that was Predators. He was hired to write a screenplay in 1996, thereabouts. It was when he was doing Desperado. So he wrote the script, and what we've heard is that they didn't move on it then. They ended up going with other properties. And then after AVP Requiem ate shit, they wanted to reinvigorate it. So they recontacted Robert Rodriguez. He had that script rewritten, and that's the movie we got. Have you read Robert Rodriguez's draft of the screenplay?
No, I've not.
I have. And let me tell you, other than the fact that there's a game preserve, and at one point there is a predator who is tied up as a prisoner that becomes an ally, very little remains. For instance, it takes place on a distant planet. Okay, that's similar. It takes place in the future, and the lead character is Dutch.
Oh, Schwarzenegger.
On another planet, on a Spanish galleon pirate ship, because he has deserted the regular army, at which point the regular army shows up and boards their pirate ship, and they're all dressed like predators, these humans. Because what we come to find out, it's a prison movie, first of all. They're shipping Dutch off to prison, and then they end up getting overrun by predators. And then it's a series of them escaping the predators over and over again. And finally, at the end, they encounter the king predator, not a queen alien, but a king predator. Oh, very clever, Robert. And they duke it out to the end. So basically, not at all the movie we ended up seeing.
Well, I'm glad that you cleared that up, because a couple of things. One, all of the making of stuff that I saw, Robert Rodriguez is all over it. But he was not credited as a writer on this, which I found a little I know he produced it, but it was a little confusing.
I did too. And I thought if he had written the screenplay that this is based off of, he's not going to take at least a story by credit. And then I thought, wow, he's really magnanimous that he did that.
What he said in interviews that I saw him in was that the movie that he wrote was going to be far too expensive for the time. And it sounds like
it's far too expensive for right now.
Clearly they took the scenario as inspiration, but they don't have an unlimited budget, but they made it work. Like I said, the thing that harkens back, there's so much that harkens back to the first movie, but the biggest thing is that for the most part, this movie takes place in a lush jungle, just like the first Predator. And because I think they watched the first Predator. They took all that they could, what worked from it, the direction, the setting, all of this stuff, and they put it into this. And I have to say, I was very happy to see that. I understand a more jaundiced view could be its derivative. It's maybe not the most original concept, but I really liked it. What did you think of Back to Basics for this particular movie, Father Malone?
Let me answer in a couple different ways. First of all, I have to address the trailer that we played earlier, because if you saw that trailer before this movie and then were intrigued enough by that trailer to go see that movie, you're probably going to be at least a little bit pissed that they manipulated the trailer and has a fake scene in it where
I saw that too. Yeah.
Adrien Brody gets the 3-dot laser targeting on his head, and then suddenly there are dozens of them, as if there are going to be hundreds of predators in store in this movie called Predators, just like in Aliens, which is it's clearly aping. It's trying to make that connection for us that we're going to get that sort of a thing. Okay. So I saw this movie at Mann's Chinese Theater in Los Angeles. And anytime I see a movie there, I tend to like the movie just a little bit more because it's Mann's Chinese.
Cool.
And I will say at the time, I did not like it all that. I felt it was too derivative, ultimately. After Predator 2, where we got to an urban setting, I thought going to a jungle was a step back. I don't care if we're on another planet. It just felt like a jungle. And ultimately, I felt really iffy about our lead. And then I think that is the last time I saw the film. So I watched it a couple of times, obviously, leading up to this. And it turns out I liked the movie a whole lot more than I thought I did. And that might be by comparison, again, from just having watched the entire run of films up until now, that the law of diminishing returns has been hitting us so fucking hard that anything competent was going to be better than that. But I do a lot of this movie. I like more of this movie than I dislike. How about that? It's, you know what? It's the best Predator sequel, but it's still not great.
And it goes without saying, by the way, that this was the first time that I've seen this movie. Pretty much every movie from now, I guess there's only one more movie after this, until Prey, I didn't see them first run or even on cable or what have you. So this was my first time seeing it. And it may be recency bias after having slogged through Alien versus Predator and Requiem, but I knew of this movie. I remember when it came out, I read the reviews, and I didn't have a strong feeling about seeing it because it was Adrien Brody, who bugs me. I think he bugs a lot of people. Nothing about it excited me to go to see it. I thought that the franchise was still on the downswing, but again, I was pleasantly surprised by how much I really enjoyed this. And not just in comparison to Requiem. I think this is very well crafted. It's solid. It brings back a lot of what I loved about the Predator series and tries a few things. It's not perfect. And I think there are things they swing and miss, but overall, I thought it was a big step in the right direction.
I agree. Here's the thing, though. The thing that was the problem for me then and remains the problem now is every time a filmmaker comes along, rather, anytime a film comes along and it's advertised to be like the worst of the worst, and that this is the crew of the dregs of society, the most lethal, morally free human beings, and they're just not ever. Like, most of these characters are really decent. The only one who seems outwardly fucked up is Walton Goggins. And even he is played for laughs almost. There's a moment where he's, when I get home, I'm going to do so much cocaine, right? And it's a huge laugh line followed by, and then I'm going to rape a bunch of women. And it was like, oh, whoa. And like that moment where it was like laughter and then a slap, I felt the movie needed a lot more of.
Yeah, it was there was actual humor in this, which I think was certainly missing from Requiem, but I can't think of any laughs in Alien versus Predator either. So that alone is there is humor in the very first Predator. If you remember, people astute listeners of the podcast will remember Jesse Ventura had some great lines. Bill Duke is funny and weird, and it's a more well-rounded movie, but this had a little more of that.
What about Shane Black's hilarious pussy jokes?
I didn't mind them so much because he's so good at selling how bad they are.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just I thought was funny. But in this one, but by the way, I want to mention one thing. You talked about the director, Nimrod Antal. I have to say, I couldn't think of what he had actually done, but it turns out he's actually directed one of my top 5 favorite concert movies of all time. I don't know if you were aware of this, Father Malone, but he directed,
Is that
You Might
Metallica
Laugh.
thing?
Yes, it's Metallica Through the Never. I know you're not giving me the gas face,
help
but
me. I'm sucked into this riotous dystopia.
put all that aside. Just the actual concert movie part of it I saw that it was a limited engagement in IMAX for a week, and I went after work one night and went to see it, and it was in 3D. It was maybe the second movie I'd seen in 3D in IMAX, and the actual concert portions were as good as any live show that I've ever actually seen, any live concert performance. At the end of some of those songs, I'm in the middle of a theater all by myself. I wanted to sit there and cheer. It was so well directed, the concert stuff, which is not easy to do. You can't just, anyone can point a camera at a bunch of people performing on stage, but it's very creatively performed. The 3D was well integrated. That got me excited actually to see this because I figured this guy actually has an eye. Unfortunately, I'm not familiar with any of his other work. I might decide to look it up based on this because I thought it was very well shot.
He did a movie called Vacancy, which was part of that sort of Platinum Dunes wave of films. I don't know if that was necessarily a Platinum Dunes film, but in that era when they were remaking like The Hitcher and the early 2000s.
Oh, Texas Chainsaw Massacre and all that.
Yes, where suddenly white trash people can't be trusted again. And so Vacancy is like a couple. I think it's Kate Beckinsale and not Owen Wilson, Luke Wilson, I think, stop at this seedy motel in the middle of nowhere and they discover that there are cameras in their room and Frank Wally is in there like being a creep. And the main thing I remember about the movie is that I was working at a movie theater at the time, and we got a cardboard standee for Vacancy, which was shaped like the motel. And it had an array of lights inside so that the neon sign, the vacancy sign, would be blinking on and off, but really atmospherically. And I took that whole fucking thing home with me.
You just set up the standee at home?
Yeah, I just put it in my living room. I had this. Oh, no, actually, I put it outside on the other side of the yard. So it looked like there was a motel in the backyard. It was really fun.
Nice.
Thanks,
Nice.
Nimrod.
But the man has some talent. I have to admit, like I said, it was shot well and directed pretty well.
I agree. I think some of it is not directed so well. I think maybe it's just hard to fight a sword fight, but I found this one to be really lacking. In fact, a lot of the action I found to be really lacking, particularly the final act of the film. I found to be just sad.
You mean when he's facing off against the predator, he set a trap? I can see where you're coming there. It was a little bit herky-jerky editing. I could see that. And the battle, I think you're referring to the Yakuza sword fight battle, like they face off, the duel. That I thought was cool. The overhead stuff I thought worked for that.
The overhead stuff is beautiful because they're standing in knee-high grass and it's all undulating underneath them. So it's gorgeous because Nimrod Antal makes gorgeous pictures, but I'm saying the actual action was lacking. There's a fight between two predators at one point in the film, which we've never seen before, by the way. Have we ever seen predators fight each other? Never. No. And it's just, it felt like watching a Godzilla movie, just two rubber-suited idiots hitting each other.
And that was, you just hit upon another one of the, the innovations in this movie. They introduced the concept of like warring factions of Yautja. There's like a higher, I don't know if you'd call them castes, but there's a group of bigger fiercer Yautjas that have taken a fourth Yautja prisoner, and they have him crucified or tied to this totem in their camp. And I think he's supposed to be a throwback to the first Predator in the first movie. He looks like the original Predator, but
that's the character's name, original Predator.
Original Predator, original formula. So that was cool. It's adding some shading to the Predator society. I thought that was neat. Should we talk about, I don't think we've talked about each of the characters and their backstory, which I thought was cool.
No, but we will. But I want to keep talking about these Predators for a second because,
okay.
Speaking of innovation, now look, God bless Tom Woodruff and Alec Gillis, the guys who were Stan Winston's crew, who went off and made their own company, and they basically did they worked on Aliens and the original Predator and Predator 2 and Aliens vs. Predator, both movies. And yes, they've done fantastic work all the time. These Predators are better. These are the best Predators since the original Predator movie.
I agree.
Even the second Predator movie seemed stiff compared to these guys. They are lithe and sporty and functional. I never doubted that these were agile creatures.
Yeah, this all K&B came in and did all of this work. I think they did it in a remarkably short amount of time from the making of stuff I saw. I think they only had something like 10 weeks from original concept to first day of shooting to get these Predators. And this was all part of Robert Rodriguez's Troublemaker Studios. Since he produced it, a lot of it was shot on location in Hawaii. Some of it was shot on location in Austin, but a lot of it, including the Predator camp, was all shot at his local Austin studio. And the costuming and all the effects work was done, like I said, by K&B. And it's really well done. These Predators have personality, which is something that was really lacking from the last few movies. There's one who is a falconer, and he has this.
That's played by Will Forte.
What?
That's played by Will Forte.
Not the Will Forte.
The Will Forte, the falconer.
Okay, the SNL. Okay, sorry. Took me a second. I'm a little slow on the uptake tonight. And he has this drone, this falcon-like metal drone that can scout. There's one who commands a pack of like predator dogs. I don't know what you call them, but hunting dogs, basically, that he sends out to flush out this prey, these people getting hunted. And then there's the last one. I think he's called the Berserker. And his defining feature, not only the fact that he's big and he's scary looking, but is it supposed to be an alien mandible, like fastened to the bottom part of his mask?
That's exactly it. He's taken, like a native tribe, he has taken the jawbone of a fierce creature and fastened that to his own faceplate.
Yeah. They look great. It doesn't read to me like very latexy. There's interest, there's detail in all the costumes, and they really, like I said, they have personality. So you're not just seeing some predator-like shape kicking ass. You can tell who they are and what their speciality is.
Let's keep talking these designs here, because those dogs you mentioned, the predator dogs, they're wolf pack. They're, like you said, they're like a fox and the hound, like a fox hunt. Send out the hounds, and out these creatures come. Now, I kept reading about how the directive when they were making this film was ignore everything but Predator. Ignore everything but the first Predator movie. That's our only guide. Except, of course, the dog design is based on a skull from the Predator ship from Part 2. It's one of the skulls in the case. Now, having said that, they're great. They're really well realized. These not ever there on the set dogs. I'm sure they had rubber ones to have on the set. In fact, I know they do, because I follow Robert Rodriguez's daughter on Instagram, and she's constantly showing shit around their studio like, oh, look, a predator dog.
Imagine growing up in that. That would be something.
Can only imagine, man.
It's like the biggest playground in the world. But yeah, the predator dogs, it's a cool innovation. The drone thing is cool. Even the predator heat vision, the infrared vision, is tweaked now. Like in the first few movies, it's just a lot of amorphous blobs you can make out, but there's a little more fidelity to them now, where there's a scene, for example, where Mahershala Ali's character is doing what's his name? Billy in the first, that's his name from 48 Hours. I'm mixing it up. Sonny Latham's character in the first movie, where he can tell the predators out there. Anyway, Mahershala Ali can detect them. and you cut to the infrared vision, you can actually see detail in his face, which they didn't have before. I thought it was it bumped up the fidelity in a lot of ways. The detail of the Predators, their weapons, their abilities, everything seemed amped up a little bit.
As they should. Predator Vision is based on a film from 1987, everybody. It at this point was 30 years later. Of course they should be updating what their vision looks like. And I like that they can cycle through their different visions now. Like we're getting more of, at one point, they're checking like footprints.
Yeah. Yeah, and they're, at one point they're searching for other people or the creatures, and you can see them like zeroing in on something and focusing in and switching the vision. There's no words, but you can tell what's going through the Predator's mind as he's searching for their prey. It was really cool.
All right, last creature, and then we'll get to the cast.
Yeah.
Okay. These people find themselves they're basically awake in the air, falling to what they think is Earth, but it's this other planet. And they've got parachutes on that are automatically set to go off and lower them. And that doesn't always work out for all of them. But
yeah, by the way, that's horrifying, by the way, because after the main characters start to land, another guy who wasn't so lucky, parachute doesn't open, he dies right in front of them. But that's nightmare material. Like we've all had dreams like this where you're falling and you don't know imagine waking up and you're 30,000 feet up in the air and you don't know how to deploy a parachute. The fact that they can't make this process of deploying the parachute foolproof, the Predators, you're just playthings for them. If somebody dies in transit or whatever, I guess there's 7 other guys we can hunt. That I found, like, when you think about it, that's horrifying. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you're absolutely right. Yeah, what a way to wake. Just falling through the clouds. And most of these characters tell their stories that they were like involved in combat. And then suddenly there was a light and now I'm falling through the sky. But they're not the only things falling through the sky, because what they discover are crates. Now, initially, I had thought that those crates, not really remembering the film, as it were, I thought the crates held the dogs. But that's not the case. Because at one point, Walton Goggins' character is being chased by what we think is a predator, and it turns out to be the initial design for the Predator from the original Predator movie. The original character that Jean-Claude Van Damme was supposed to play has a cameo in this film. It's one of the beasts from the cages, which means, though all of those cages held other creatures. And here's my main problem with the movie. Where are the other creatures? We're on an alien world. Not only alien creatures, where's the bizarre flora and fauna? We see one plant that acts a bit odd. Everything else feels like they're in, I don't know, Hawaii.
I'm with you on that. That was one of the cooler parts, because it gives you this glimpse of a larger thing at work here, where they're not just plucking people from Earth to hunt. They're plucking people from God knows how many planets, the weird creatures that we've never seen before. So yeah, I would agree with you there that this planet should have been much more, put it this way, it should have been better stocked with game than we see, because there's stretches of this movie where they're doing nothing but walking and marching and talking, which it's good from a character development perspective, but from an action perspective, it does leave a little bit to be desired.
I mentioned that the original Predator, who is, when we meet him here in the film, he's basically just chained up in the middle of their camp. In the original Robert Rodriguez screenplay, they find him chained up, but he's not chained up. He's crucified. In fact, he's crucified on an X, which means Robert Rodriguez was channeling Frank Frazetta, because he has a painting of an alien. It's called Alien Crucifixion, where an alien with 4 arms is crucified to an X wooden cross. So that got me thinking, if they had made this more of this Frank Frazetta type bizarre world, we could have had predators hunting humans while being hunted themselves by giant beasts. I know that I'm starting to make the budget really big, but maybe lose a couple of characters that we don't give a shit about anyway, because honestly, HP, as much as I enjoyed this movie, I didn't care about one human being here. When we watched the original Predator, you and I said it then, I loved every single member of that team. Here, I don't care. Actually, that's not true. There's only one I care about, the Russian.
I cared about a few more than you did. I hate to say it, because
I liked Alice Braga as well.
She's very good.
All of the acting, let me just say that all of the acting is really good across the board. No one turns in a bad performance here.
It's good, but if I was going to lose any members of the team, and like I said, it hurts me to say this, I probably would have gotten rid of Danny Trejo, just because I get it. He's a Robert Rodriguez mainstay, and when Danny Trejo says he's going to be in your movie, you put Danny Trejo in your fucking movie. But at the same time, to me, he didn't add a whole lot. So I guess we'll talk a little bit more about each character and their backstory, but I don't know, he just didn't really do it for me. He seemed old, a little too old to be someone who's plucked in the prime of their predatory life and put on a planet. A little long in the tooth for that. I had a similar reaction about Larry Fishburne, but we'll talk about him.
Desperado era Danny Trejo, I think, is what they probably had in mind, because that would be a cartel enforcer. Had they said it's the head of a cartel, Danny Trejo, then I would have said, oh yeah, of course, that makes sense.
It just didn't add up for me. I like the notion of having this guy who is a cartel enforcer, all these different, like you said, these predators essentially, but you could have lost him and it wouldn't have been a big loss for me. But I love the Russian. I think he's actually like an MMA fighter turned actor. I thought he was really good.
He's great. All right, let's just talk characters. Our lead, Royce, played by Adrien Brody, everyone's favorite Adrien Brody, particularly if you're Halle Berry or Jamaican.
Or Lorne Michaels. Yeah.
Lorne Michaels loves Adrien Brody. Look, I think Adrien Brody is a phenomenally talented actor, and he seems like a fucking nightmare to deal with.
Yeah. But having said that, I remember all the criticism when this movie came out. Adrien Brody is a Predator movie, this action guy. I thought he was really good. I'm sorry. I liked the fact that they hired an actor and not just a big buff action star. Not to say Arnold, that's all there is to Arnold, but because you have somebody who's an intense actor first, you get invested in his plight and his backstory and his journey a little more than you would if it's just a faceless, muscly guy with a gun. That, I think, was really shrewd on their part to bring him in. I think history will prove that was actually a really savvy casting choice, my opinion.
I think at the time, it seemed like a savvy casting choice. I think he just won an Academy Award for The Pianist. And it was a time when nobody believed that Johnny Depp was going to be a pirate captain, and suddenly he was. And suddenly, like, higher end actors were stretching themselves in other areas. So it's not without the realm of possibility. It's just that he chose to play it like he was a badass, and he doesn't come off that way. I never believed him. I didn't believe him.
I didn't have a real problem.
I didn't believe him, HP. I don't believe him.
I hear you. And I understand. I hear your criticism, and I'm not disputing how you feel. It's subjective after all. But I look, the voice was a little over the top at times, but
under the top.
I bought him. And then, like, at the end, when he finally faces off against the Predator, it's like an Arnie versus Predator moment.
Lame.
And he finally takes off his fatigues or whatever. Guy got jacked. I think he put on like 25 pounds of muscle for this, and it showed. And I think it got to the idea that real soldiers aren't going to be built like Arnold Schwarzenegger. They're going to be a little more lean and a little more wiry, maybe. I didn't have a problem with him. I thought he was fine. I didn't really have a problem with anybody's performance necessarily, but he's the lead, obviously, and I thought he was good.
I love to play this game. What if he had been played instead by Walton Goggins? Almost immediately more likable as the lead character. People would be talking about Royce like they're talking about Harrigan now.
Not a bad choice. And I guess there's any number of people who could have done what Walton Goggins does. He's very good in this. And look, it's only in the last, 5 years that Walton Goggins has become Walton Goggins with Fallout and The White Lotus and all these things. Good for him. This was 2010. I didn't realize that his career stretched back that far. The guy's been slogging it out in Hollywood, and he's finally reached the notoriety he deserves, but he's really good in this. And he would have been good as Royce. I give you that.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy to say because he's the most vile character, but he's the most likable character, and that's because Walton Goggins is so fucking likable. Okay,
Yeah.
here's the cast, everybody. We already named it, but okay, so we've got our American. That's Adrien Brody. He's special forces, except that now he's a mercenary. But the lead female character is the Alice Braga character. Was she from some South American?
No, she's IDF. She's Israeli,
Oh, she's Israeli. Alice Braga?
which was a stretch because she's not Israeli. She's Brazilian.
That's why I thought she was South American.
That's a little weird, but it's very quick where they're introducing themselves and he goes, "Oh, I guess you're IDF, right?" Yeah, she's supposed to be a sniper with the Israeli Defense Force.
And then we've got Mahershala Ali, who is in part of a death squad from South Africa or Africa.
Sierra Leone.
From Sierra Leone.
Yeah, yeah.
Who else? Walton Goggins is on death row. So he's a murderer and rapist and was going to be executed in 2 days when the Predators grabbed him.
Yeah. And there's
Danny Trejo, cartel guy. They grabbed him when he was in Baja.
Yeah, he was in Baja. There's the Japanese fellow who's Yakuza, who's a young Yakuza who doesn't speak. I think he only has 2 lines in the whole movie, but he's basically very quiet and intense. Do you have the actor's name there? I regret that I don't have it.
I did. I said it at the top.
Okay. Then listen back to
Mr. Ozawa.
He's in like a sharp suit. He's the only one who has just like I think he has a pistol. He doesn't have a rifle like the rest of them do.
But he'll eventually have a katana.
He eventually has a katana. So there's the Yakuza, there's the IDF sniper.
One left.
Are you talking about Larry Fishburne?
No, I'm talking about one of these things is not like the other. One of these things just doesn't belong.
Topher Grace.
And I don't mean performance-wise or actor-wise, because I love Topher Grace. I'm gone record. He's good. I always enjoy his performances, and his editing is par excellence.
He's very good. In fact, we talked about this offline at some point. He's in Heretic, and he's really good in Heretic. But he's great in everything that he's in, but he's very good in that. And he's good here. I did have a problem we'll get to with his character, but we can save that for a little while from now. But he's the wild card because he says he's a doctor. So there's no explanation initially why he would be in the midst of all of these killers and bad people, why this guy just driving in his car, this physician, has been pulled to this planet, which, again, it's one of those horrifying things. What if they make a mistake? I thought to myself, like, what if the Yautja just pick somebody that they, for whatever reason, they've mistaken for somebody else? Like, I'm sitting here drinking coffee at work, and all of a sudden, I'm sucked off to an alien planet.
Yeah, because they thought you were a super predator.
Apparently, I don't know where they got that impression, but he's.
I work in IT. I'm telling you, I don't. What is this weapon? I can't even lift this.
What am I doing here? But he's got no weapons. He's got no skills of any kind. Basically he's the one that gets saved by all these other badasses time and time again.
If he had a medical bag on him, then I would have been less suspicious. I would have thought, oh, do the Predators give him a medic?
That's what my assumption was. Like, maybe they assume that it's a medic to patch these guys up if they get injured, but he's got nothing on him.
Which, yeah, exactly. Because it would make sense, because when they send their fucking dogs, if they hadn't all been firing wildly at those dogs, they'd all be dead. And then the Predators would be like, oh, man.
Yeah. It's less about flushing the, yeah.
Wolfmaster Predator again?
Because these things it takes a lot. That scene where the dogs are trying to flush them out is basically the Bill Duke in Predator shooting the rail gun into the forest for 3 minutes, because it's just an endless scene where these dogs are advancing, they're shooting. They've shot so much that some of these guys have to go to their secondary weapon because they're out of ammo on their primary rifle. It's a great sequence, but it does go on for a long time.
A little too long. I will say that initially it's just the one dog, and when they finally kill it, another one appears right behind it, and that first one took so long to kill. And then it cuts to like a scene in a forest where a pack of them are just racing forward. I thought, oh, this is great. But yeah, it ends up going on too long. And then it ends up like fucking with its own logic, because it seems like every single one of them was necessary. Every single lead character firing was necessary to take down one of them, and then they were all just taking him down singly. I think Walton Goggins kills one with a knife.
Yeah, that's his weapon, by the way. All of them they stand up because they have a unique weapon that they carry. The Russian carries a giant railgun like Jesse Ventura in the first one. The IDF sniper has this huge badass sniper rifle. Royce has a giant rifle of some kind with camouflage on it.
It's
It's
a riot shotgun.
Is that what that is?
Well, yeah, with a big drum filled with shotgun shells. You notice on his
he's got the bandolier.
Yeah, he has bandoliers with shotgun shells on both straps.
The Yakuza has really fancy pistol. The cartel guy has double Uzis, I think, that he's wielding.
I don't think they're Uzis, but they are hand machine pistols.
Are they like Mac 10s? I don't know. I don't know anything about
They're
guns,
not that either, but I don't know the name of them. But they're not the standard ones that you've seen in an 80s movie.
Sure. And then Walton Goggins, who's this death row prisoner, has a knife, but at least he has a knife because the doctor, Topher Grace, has nothing. I think he has a pocket knife.
He has a scalpel.
Oh, is that what that is? I thought it was like a little pocket knife.
Oh, no, it's a scalpel, definitely.
Okay. I got it.
Because he uses it later.
He does.
So here's our heroes. They've all been dropped on this planet. They don't know it's a planet. They don't know where they are. They can't quite figure it out because something seems a bit off. Because the sun shouldn't be where it is, and it's too hot for where they are, and blah, blah, blah. Follow me, don't follow me. I don't care. I'm a badass. Let's follow him. Hey, wait a minute. Should there be 2 moons in the sky?
This is like a Cliff Note version.
Dun-dun-dun-dun-dun. Dun-dun-dun-dun-dun.
It must be said, by the way, that we don't really see our first view of a predator until about 45 minutes into the movie, basically.
I liked that, actually, because I like getting to know these characters. Like I said, ultimately, I didn't care about any of them because they didn't actually make any connections or anything. But that isn't because I didn't like the structure of this. Like, I really enjoyed the fact that they got attacked by those dogs first, and then at the last second, there's a whistle going off, and you're like, "Oh man, the predators are coming!" It was such a nice intro to them without having to reveal them at all.
That's fair. Yeah, you feel their presence without actually seeing them. That the big reveal is coming.
So our heroes now they have a mission, right? What mission? Here's the thing: as soon as they come over that ridge and look up and see a different suns in the sky and there are different planets in their atmosphere, all hope is lost. That's all I could think. That's it, guys. You're going to die here no matter what you do, because they don't have a plan to begin with, right? They just keep marching.
They're hoping to get to the edge of the preserve to get away from whatever's hunting them before they know what it is. And then you're right. It's like the ending of like Planet of the Apes, where you realize that's the big shock ending when they look up in the sky and there's Jupiter and all these planets. Me as a viewer, I'm thinking to myself, just like you said, like that's, even if I can survive and kill whatever it is that's hunting us, I'm gonna die on this planet. There's no way. Where am I? How do I possibly get off of this planet? It's impossible.
It's impossible. Okay, but you know what? They do have a mission at hand, which is stay alive and don't be killed by these things that are clearly hunting them. Okay, great. Now we meet a new character.
Yep, Larry Fishburne.
Now, okay,
your face.
All right, listen. I like the idea of his character a whole lot. When he approaches the group, he's dressed as a predator. We think it's a predator, and then he takes the mask off, and it's Lawrence Fishburne. And I wish his credit hadn't been in the opening titles because it would be such a fucking cool reveal. So he has survived for 10 seasons, 10 hunting seasons, which according to the filmmakers is about 2.5 years. Yeah. So he's been on the planet surviving somehow. And he's like, I loved his performance, by the way, because he's obviously cuckoo, but I loved how quiet he was. You never see Lawrence Fishburne this quiet. But basically he's like, come with me if you want to live.
Yeah. But and this is fan service, I get it. But one of the coolest parts of it was they're in this quiet moment and they hear something say to them, over here, this whisper, over here, turn around, which is what we heard in the first Predator. It's Bill Duke when he was sampled essentially by the Predator. Those are the lines that he spoke that were parroted back by the Predator. So me as a viewer, I'm like, oh, So they must have, it's a predator. Somehow they know what the other ones experience, and they're it's a nice callback to the first movie. But then the big reveal is that it's this guy. He was Air Cav. He was dropped there, like you said, a couple of years prior, and he's this badass, but he's gone crazy over the last couple of years. He's mostly there, but he has a habit of talking to himself, and he takes them to there's a like a mining ship or some kind of drill that is no longer operational, but it has a power supply. This is where he's been hiding out, scavenging from the other predators for 2+ years or however long it's been. He's got food. Here's my problem with Larry Fishburne in this, and it's going to sound so petty. I apologize in advance, but so he's been living by the skin of his teeth for 2 years, scavenging food and whatever else he needs to survive. To me, he didn't look like he was missing too many meals. He's an older guy. I get that. The metabolism, it doesn't do you any favors as you get older. He didn't look like somebody who's been living by the skin of his teeth for 2 years. He just looked too plump to me, to be brutally honest.
He did look very healthy. I did notice that while I was watching. I thought, wow, he looked great. But I didn't think of it in terms of he looks a little too good to have been living on the run from predators and killing strange beasts and hoping he doesn't die from poison when he eats them.
Because he can't be like, we don't see many of the creatures that are native to this location, but he can't be, he's living off of the equivalent of like rats, probably. Like he's scavenging. He's not going to call attention to himself. So he should have been much more gaunt and just worn out.
See, two missed opportunities. In the original, in that original Robert Rodriguez script, Dutch's character ends up partnered with the leader of this army that initially was taking him to prison. And what you discover is that character, which by the way was written for Jean-Claude Van Damme. So the idea was going to be Schwarzenegger and Jean-Claude Van Damme as like teammates going against the predators. But then the twist at the end of the movie was the reason that the soldiers are outfitted in predator gear is that the government on Earth has made a pact with the predators, and that we keep supplying them with fresh game, and they share their technology with us.
Oh, yeah.
So that could have been similar here, where maybe he's in league with the predators. Like, they're giving him food and supplies and stuff, and he's aiding them when people are eluding them somehow. Could have been something. Could have answered that question. Unfortunately, what we get is just a loony who wants their stuff.
Yeah. So he double crosses them, basically. He invites them to his home, for lack of a better word. When they're distracted and he says he's going to sleep, he basically walls them into their chamber and tries to basically suffocate them with smoke. He lights a fire in the hopes that they'll asphyxiate and he'll steal their gear. Doesn't quite work out that way for him, unfortunately for him, but it was a bit of a letdown because it's a really interesting idea that this guy's it's like Newt in Aliens. How has this girl possibly been like surviving when these xenomorphs are infesting this base, right? How is this guy living on this alien planet for 2 years without A, losing hope, and B, just not succumbing to the elements, exposure, the other critters that are abounding? It's an interesting idea.
And then the predators show up and vaporize him.
Completely. Yeah. He's gone.
We meet him. He tries to fuck them over, and then he gets blasted into oblivion.
In fairness, I think Fishburne was only on set for about 2 days, so his part wasn't that big, but it's Lawrence Fishburne. The guy's awesome. And there's even a little callback because he's talking about his days in the air cav.
Oh, it's clearly supposed to be cool.
Right.
His character is named was named Cool in Apocalypse Now. Yeah, he's talking about air cav, and then he starts doing fucking up the Ride of the Valkyries.
Ride of the Valkyries. He starts to hum the Valkyries, thinking to himself about the old days. So I thought that was neat. It's fan service again, but I'm not opposed
to some fucking subtle fan service there. That
it is. Maybe the average person going to see this movie wouldn't be a huge Apocalypse Now fan, but I was happy that it was there, and again, there's these moments that kind of elevate the movie and make it a little more special, and that's one of them.
Okay, but what his character does do for the plot is he lets them know that where they were at that camp, just feet away, 20 feet away, there's a ship. The Predators have a ship. It's cloaked. It's right there. They can get off of this planet. So now they have a mission. Now the plot is let's get to the ship. And I'm still like, you're all going to die on this planet. What are you going to do when you get on that ship, dummies?
There's no on switch. It's not like getting into your Chevy, into your car and turning the ignition. They don't know. Maybe there's a fingerprint scanner that only responds to Yautja fingers.
Knowing the reputation of the Yautja, you could push a button and self-destruct.
Exactly. But it's a neat thing with the Royce character where Lawrence Fishburne's character basically says to him, that's ridiculous. Just go and get into this. Who's going to fly it? And Roy says, I'll give it a shot. And I'm like, okay, that's the kind of guy that you want to be stuck on an alien planet with. I'd follow that guy because look, either we stay and die and become trophies for some weird alien race, or we at least try to get off this godforsaken planet. Why not?
Either we stay and forge a life here because that's really our only option, or we could definitely die in a flaming wreck while you try and get us off this planet. And once we're in orbit, what are we doing? Where are we going? You're going to navigate us home?
That is ridiculous. You're right. But again, you're making it sound like we're going to forge a life on this planet. This isn't
That's
Pilgrims.
It's the only option. They're not going anywhere.
It's a hopeless existence. They're going to be like living in fear 24 hours a day.
Like Robinson Crusoe, not a primitive luxury.
But that's where the prisoner Predator comes into play because Royce figures
he can fly the ship.
Yeah, he can fly the ship. That guy wants to be released. If I can spring him from this totem that he's chained to, he will do this for me. He will do me this solid. Which is, again, it's a wing and a prayer. This Predator might just kill the guy at the first opportunity if he releases him because he may just be feral. Who knows? But that's the mission now. The mission pivots to, we got to get back to the Predator camp and see what we can work out with this.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Look,
you know what? That is a solid plan.
Yeah.
And I got to say, the script thinks it's being edgy and subversive by constantly pulling the rug out from under us, right? We're on this planet, we're not going to get out of it. Wait, there's a ship, maybe we can get to the ship. Okay, and now we're going to be saved by this predator, and then the other predator, the berserker predator shows up and just fucking cuts his head off.
Yep, there goes that plan.
Oops. Oh my God. Okay, so look, everybody's dead. There's only 3 of them left now, and they get separated. It's Alice Braga and Topher Grace in one corner, and Adrien Brody in the other. And Adrien Brody is gonna get on the ship and come back for them.
No, I didn't get that impression. They basically have this confrontation where. So what's happened is Topher Grace's character, the doctor in quotes, a trap has ensnared his leg, and Alice Braga, Isabel is her name, the sniper, releases him, but Roy says, look, that trap wasn't meant to kill you. It's just meant to maim you. You're dead. There's nothing more I can do for you. Let's see if we can get the hell out of here while we still can, us survivors. And Isabel, her redemption moment is, no, I'm gonna deal with this guy. Because she said her regret is her spotter at some military exercise was killed. She could have saved him, but she didn't. And that haunts her. So this is her redemption for not saving her spotter. So Royce is fine. You do what the hell you want. I'm out of here. Have a nice life.
You can do whatever you want. I'm out of here because I'm a badass. Bye. Bye. I don't care for nobody. I don't get a character arc in this movie.
So I didn't get the sense that he was going to circle back once he got on the ship. He's just like, this is my mission. I have to get off this planet, which is unusual because a lot of these guys, the Russian guy has a picture of his kids, and that's his motivation. I got to get back to my kids. They don't deserve this, blah, blah, blah. They all have something that they're trying to work towards some redemption, but Royce is He has nothing. He's not really.
Over and over again, the redemption seems to be saving Topher Grace.
They'll save him at one time or another, right?
Yeah.
At different points in the movie.
And the Russian dies doing it. She almost dies doing it.
Yeah.
And then
the Russian sacrifices himself.
He sure does for this piece of shit, because obviously Topher Grace is a serial killer. If anyone didn't figure that out in the first 5 minutes of the movie, I'm so sorry.
That might have been one of my biggest problems with this. I'm not a screenwriter, so I don't have a great notion of what they could have done with the Topher Grace character, but it's such a silly heel turn at the moment that it is that we've seen him at the beginning of the movie. They're walking around and a character almost touches this plant that has this neurotoxin that Topher Grace is, oh no, this is whatever, tryptophilia, and this neurotoxin's bad. And he puts it on his scalpel to say, here's the goo, and you forget about it. And then when he makes his heel turn and you discover that he's a serial killer, he nicks Alice Braga's character with the neurotoxin. So she's paralyzed temporarily. And he talks about all these bad things he's going to do to her and how he actually feels like he's home. He wants to stay on the planet because he identifies with the predators. It just seemed so half-baked. He's just this generic serial killer. I didn't get it. I don't know. I just didn't buy it.
Serial killers select their victims very carefully. It isn't just a spree killing, because that's what is. So just pathologically, that doesn't make. Second of all, this is the time and place. You're in a fucking trap still.
Yeah, they're in a pit.
Yeah. Get out of the pit first. Get out of the pit. Go somewhere safe. She's your fucking prey now, right? Like, it's just a matter of time. The timing is so stupid. Not to mention this idea. I can understand the predators being drawn to places of conflict where they can disappear and observe and go, oh, look, that one in particular, he's really good. Grab him. I can understand them even maybe potentially monitoring the news and finding out that there is a particularly deranged psychopath who's about to be executed. But when the FBI and the internet mobs can't find a serial killer and they do, I have to wonder what the fuck anyone was thinking while writing this. What did the predators do? Were they following his case in the papers? And they made some fucking decision that it had to be this doctor?
The predators pick their prey because they can physically do battle with them. These are people that give them a fair fight. We've seen them in movies that they won't attack somebody if they don't have a weapon. So we know that they have some sort of code of honor, and they are very particular about the kinds of creatures that they will go after. If him being there's nothing that's not the right word. There's nothing physically imposing about Topher Grace. There's nothing there's no physical matchup with this wiry serial killer who does his deeds in secret. I don't see where that's something a predator would consider a fair fight. It just seems like a mismatch of the highest order. So I don't understand. It would have been more interesting, frankly, Father Malone, if they didn't have this twist that he's literally just somebody who was the wrong place, wrong time. He was picked for no reason, but maybe through the course of the movie, he finds it within himself to stand up to these predators, to become a bit of a badass that he never could be. Just by happenstance, by bad luck, he was picked to be put on this planet. It would have been a great through line. You would have been really sorry to see him die because you would have been attached to him. This is a situation that everybody watching the movie could identify with. We already talked about how horrifying it is to find yourself falling onto this alien planet through no fault of your own. But imagine on top of that, you're just some ordinary guy going to drinking Starbucks in your car, going to work, and then boom, now you're put into this untenable situation that you will probably never get away from. I think they should have just gone and just continued on that thread. That making him a serial killer just seemed, I don't know, like I said, half-baked and, I don't know, illogical to me on so many levels.
It's such clever screenwriting. I guess that's ultimately it, right? Somebody thought, oh, the ultimate predator for humans is a serial killer. So we'll put in a serial killer. Then no one will expect that. But who gives a shit? Because he doesn't have anything the predators are looking for. The predators, from what we understand from this movie, is that they're trying to become better and better. And so they pick opponents who present a possible threat to them. This isn't a fucking fish in the barrel situation. Like, the predators are supposed to be potentially able to be killed by their quarry.
Yeah. Fishburne's character lays it out in his conversation before he turns heel, where he says, look, every season there's another 3 predators that land, and once in a while somebody will kill a predator. But he says the amazing thing is they learn quick. That's what he says. He says they learn quick. They change tactics. They change weaponry. They change armor. They change everything. He's admiring the fact that they can adapt to these different types of quarry that they've stocked the planet with. So, yeah, they're going to want people they're going to test their ability to hunt. And there's nothing about Topher Grace outwardly that would present a challenge to a 7-foot tall Yautja with blades for arms and a laser on his shoulder.
You know what? I think we really need to find something that ingratiates himself into our lives, and then we would never expect that he would kill it.
It's just this moment where he's menacing the sniper, but then it turns out it comes back. We thought that the ship had been blown up with him on board, but it turns out he wasn't on board. So he's able to come in and save. That's his moment of redemption. He comes back and saves the sniper from a fate worse than death, and then uses Topher Grace's. He essentially hits him with the same neurotoxin that Topher Grace gave the sniper, and then he leaves him as bait. He puts all these hand grenades all over him and leaves him as bait for the final surviving berserker predator.
Yeah,
and
that's when I liked.
Off.
That was pretty
I like
cool.
that a lot. Yeah. It made sense because that's what that's a tactic that this merc would come up with. I thought it was really cool. So that's how he meets his end. He's blown up, and it incapacitates the predator, but it doesn't kill him. It just weakens him enough to where it's a fair fight between him and Royce. Mano a mano.
They shouldn't have made it a young guy. They should have made it an old guy who just looked like a civilian. And then at the end, you find out he's like some general and he used to be the biggest badass ever. And that's why they grabbed him. But then Royce finds out that he initiated some operation where his entire team was wiped out. And now he hooks him up to a bunch of grenades and leaves him as bait for the predator. All right, maybe I'm fan fictioning.
But the point that we're making here is that there's at least 24 different ways they could have gone with this. I would be in favor of wrong place, wrong time. Let's see. He then becomes the audience proxy. So you're in the midst of all of these badasses who have these preternatural abilities to fight and survive. And then you have this Nebbish who did nothing wrong. He's not an evil person. He's not somebody who's atoning for his crimes. Because at one point, they're walking, they still haven't figured out where they are and what their purpose is. And one of them wonders aloud, maybe we're dead. Maybe this is hell. And where we're all doomed to spend eternity because of what we've done in life, which I thought was an interesting little moment. But putting that aside, there's all sorts of ways you could have made that Topher Grace character more interesting and not even recast him. He could have done so much more with a different arc to his character.
Yeah, they could have just made him a young soldier who seems like the nicest one there and turns out to be the most vile. Like the ultimate predator. I belong here. Yes, you do. But like the idea that he's suddenly setting up a kill room like Dexter at the bottom of a fucking tiger pit is absolutely ridiculous.
It was silly. But hats off to them also, where if we're talking about things that they did right as far as this confrontation between Royce and the predator and the trap that he lays. They do fight, and it shouldn't come to any surprise that Royce bests this last predator. Of the 3, he was the one remaining. He
takes all the gunpowder and puts a line around the camp so that it'll burn out the vision of the predator. He then lightly wipes on a little mud because he doesn't want to cover up that physique. And then while the predator is distracted, he runs through the frame with an axe hitting the predator over and over again. So the predator is confused, and Royce appears, smack, and runs out of the frame. And then the predator is confused, and then Royce appears, smack, and runs out of the frame. And all I kept thinking is, why didn't you save one fucking shotgun shell? And as you're running past, put it to his face and shoot him.
It's a little cartoonish. I won't dispute that.
It's a little comic booky, and that's ultimately what I came away with. That this feels a little more like Dark Horse Comics than anything else.
That's fair. That's fair. But the bottom line is he eventually, essentially decapitates him. He kills the predator's done. And that's one of those audience moments of, like, yeah, we're cheering. But at the same time, this is a movie, as you said, that's fond of pulling the rug out from under you at every turn. They're still trapped. Him and this sniper are still trapped on an inhospitable world where any moment there's going to be another, like they look up in the sky and there's already parachutes coming down. So they know the next season is ready to begin, the next hunting season.
Who's scheduling the seasons? Because clearly somebody stacked up and they overbooked.
It's a very short season, I think, because they've only been there for, it looks to me like real time. It's probably 2 days. If that's a very quick season, but they can see that there's more people, there's more creatures coming, which surely means there's more predator creatures coming. So there's no escape. The ship that he tried to escape on was destroyed by one of the other predators. So it wasn't a happy ending, which I guess I can appreciate. There's nothing happy about it. It's just they're going to continue to survive.
Let's get the hell off of this planet.
You hated that voice so much.
Let's get off of the planet, HP.
Let me ask you a question. This is a little off topic, but only a little bit. Now, actually, you can cut this out if you want. Are we going to talk about Killer of Killers also as part? We're going to talk about Killer of Killers in a while. It's going to be the last thing we talk about before Badlands comes. Now, for those who maybe have already seen it, be aware that they added an extended ending to it after it had already been broadcast on Hulu, I believe. The extended ending is you see this giant, basically a warehouse of people cryogenically in these capsules, and they're moving the Viking into her little spot. She's killed one of the predators, so now she's, that's what they do. When you kill a predator, you have a place of honor in this mausoleum, essentially. Then the extended ending, we see they've also brought into this warehouse Harrigan from Predator 2, Naru from Prey, and Dutch from the very first Predator. So this is the first time we've seen any of Dutch since the first movie. Now, here's my question. Here's what I'm leading up to, Father Malone. Why is there no Royce in the warehouse? Why don't we see Adrien Brody's character, since he killed a predator and lived to tell the tale?
Excellent question. Maybe they're ignoring predators like Predators ignored Alien versus Predator. Or maybe Adrien Brody said, no, you cannot use my likeness. Or they hated this movie and are trying to ignore it. I don't know, man. Do you have a theory?
I don't have a theory. I was more curious about what your theory was, because you think you have a better mind for what the actual Hollywood logistics might be in this. And you might be right. Maybe he didn't sign off on giving his likeness to this picture, or I don't know. I thought it was a little bit of a disservice to the character, because I liked him a whole lot more than you did in Predators, but there's no disputing that he killed a predator. And the way the culture apparently works is when you do that, you receive a place of honor in their mausoleum of killers. He wasn't there. I think it was a real missed opportunity.
Maybe he's dead. Maybe he didn't last too many seasons. Maybe he lasted only 2 more seasons. And then the Predators got him because they learned quick.
Yeah, that's the only thing that I could think of that made any sense, was maybe, if you extend this out, maybe in another week or so, he just was killed. He couldn't make it. He was overwhelmed, and that was it. That's the only thing that made any sense to me. But again, I think if it just would have been very intriguing from a fan perspective to see all of these, anti-heroes, or not anti-heroes, but all these stars, these characters that completed the ultimate objective of killing a predator. I just thought it was kind of it was a missed opportunity.
I'd be okay with Isabel.
Well, she didn't actually kill a predator.
Who cares? She was there.
She was there, but
she shot one.
No, but she didn't kill it.
So
that's what you have to do. All the people in that mausoleum that we see have killed at least one predator.
I don't have to do anything. All I have to do is promise people that on the next show, we're going to be talking about the Predator. Not Predator, not Predators, not Predator 2, but the Predator.
The Predator.
Definitive article. Definite article. HP, do you recommend this movie?
I do. I do recommend this movie. I think as a direct sequel to Predator 1 and 2, I think it's fabulous. I think if you had thrown out AVP and AVP Requiem, this would have fit in nicely, and this series, this franchise, would be a little more highly regarded than it was prior to Prey.
I'll agree with that. I do think it's much better than both of those movies, and I was happy to see a return to form, at least in action. But I don't know. I don't know about this one. I kind of recommend it. I recommend this over Alien versus Predator or Requiem.
But that's a very low bar. I recommend The Room over either of those movies. And that movie is objectively terrible. But at least it's entertaining at times.
Okay.
Not,
Is it better than Predator?
Is The Room?
No. What we're talking about The Room for?
Sorry. Is this better than Predator 2? Yes.
Well, okay, then that's a sterling recommendation. A Sterling K. Brown recommendation featured in The Predator on the next episode of Yautja Fest. HP, until then, where can people find you?
All right. I co-host the Night Mr. Walters Taxi podcast alongside my man, Father Malone, over here. I'm an occasional guest on the Culture Cast with Chris Dashew. I host another podcast, music podcast called The Noise Junkies. And if that weren't enough, I have a Bandcamp site, hpmusicplace.bandcamp.com.
That all sounds great. As for me, you're listening to my show. We're here on the Mondays with Father Malone's Weekly Roundup. And every Friday or Thursday or whenever the hell I get to it, we put out a fest. We've got Yautja Fest going on. We're wrapping up the Fusco Fest. We're looking at Moranis Fest. I don't know if that's just going to be Patreon or not, but that's coming. Also, I'm going to be doing, I'm looking at the Clive Barker's Books of Blood, the film adaptations of that. That's a Books of Blood Fest. That'll probably be in October. Geez, what else? I did want to say thank you to everyone. The ratings on the show, the downloads been absolutely fucking crazy lately. So thank you everyone for watching or listening. Thank you everyone for listening. And, check us out at patreon.com/Father Malone or midnight_viewing on Instagram and Threads and all the other bullshit. And if you want to talk to me directly, fathermalone71@gmail.com. Until then, here's a little bit from The Predators, or rather just Predators. We're going to save our articles for our next show.
Man, if we ever make it home, I'm gonna do so much fucking cocaine. I'm gonna rape so many fine bitches. Be like, what time is it? 5 o'clock? Damn. Time to go rape me some fine bitches. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah. Totally. Like 5 o'clock. Bitch raping time.
Yeah.
You should stay away from him.
Yeah.